Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in this workshop about EIT Urban Mobility, digital solutions for more livable urban spaces. I would like to thank all the participants here with us today. More than 200 people registered, so it's a quite successful workshop. So we hope that we will have interesting discussions and presentations with you. While we are waiting for some other participants to join, because maybe they are a bit late with the previous workshop, I will give the floor to my colleague, Karma Islam. First of all, I will introduce myself, Eloy Gomez. I'm Eloy Gomez, Engagement and Events Manager at EIT Urban Mobility. And my colleague, Karma Islam, is our Interim in Innovation Hub Central. So we have prepared an icebreak little exercise in the poll. So if you go in your screen to the right side, there is a poll with a question. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when thinking of digital solutions for urban mobility? So you can write your ideas there. And like this, we can wait a bit, 1 more minute, 2 more minutes for the other participants to come. So please give your ideas in the poll. What is for you, what does it mean, digital solutions for urban mobility? Of course, our speakers know very well, they are experts on the topic. But some of the participants, I saw the list of participants, and you are coming from software companies, business companies, some of you. So maybe you're not so much related to urban mobility. So we would like to know, what are your thoughts about this? So maybe we just wait 1 more minute and we see what the poll say to us. But meanwhile, I will start sharing my screen with you. So maybe we can finish the poll. It was just an icebreaker exercise very quickly for you to give some first ideas. Karma, did we receive any good answers, some answer from our participants?
Yes, maybe I can share my screen and share the results.
Oh yes, sorry, I will, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some urban air mobility. That's interesting. We have recently organized a workshop on this, also drones and air mobility, climate friendly, e-bikes, mass apps, application. Of course, digital solutions in urban mobility are very much related to applications in our mobile phones, self-driving cars, monitoring user behavior, and climate friendly. Yeah, so good answers. Bien mobile application. So that's related to you, Dominic. Probably you will give us more information about that in a minute. So thank you for contributing to this little poll that we wanted to share with you as a icebreak exercise. So thank you, Karma. So I will share now my screen and we can start with our session today. I'm happy to be here with you because we are a growing community, and we know that the organizers and many of the participants are coming from Austria, and Austria is one of our key players, key countries in EIT Urban Mobility Innovation Hub Central. So we would like to also increase the contacts with Austrian organizations, but not only in Austria, of course, and the rest of Europe as well. So I would like to share with you a little bit of the agenda for today. So most of you, probably you don't know what is EIT Urban Mobility. So I would like to give you a bit of information on our activities, our scope, what we do, the projects and a startup that we supported or funded. And after that, I will give the floor to 3 key players in urban mobility. And we have identified 1 city representative, 1 transport company representative, and 1 representative from a early business or a startup. All of them are related in one way or another to our EIT Urban Mobility community. So after my presentation, I will give the floor to Melanie Grosch. She's the transport planner research coordinator in City of Munich. And she will explain us a bit more about the mobility strategy in the city of Munich, the innovation and digitalization that they are putting in place. And City of Munich is one of the core partners of EIT Urban Mobility. So thank you, Melanie, for being here with us today. After Melanie, we will give the floor to Dominique Caral. He's the head of IT management and services in Vinio Linien. Vinio Linien, probably you know very well, is the transport company of the city of Vienna. And he will explain us the digital future of his organization. And Vinio Linien is part of our also community, EIT Urban Mobility as network partner. So he will give us more information on how they face the future in terms of digital solutions for urban mobility in Vienna. And then the third speaker today will be Thibault Castagna. He's the CEO of Vianova. Thank you, Thibault, for being here with us. Thank you, Dominique. I didn't say that before. So Thibault will speak about how cities can easily implement digital solutions to build safer and more livable streets for everyone. Vianova is one of the successful startups that EIT Urban Mobility is supporting. And in fact, they are nowadays piloting one of the digital solutions that they provide in the city of Milan, because they are trying to monitor the e-mobility service in the city of Milan, thanks to the software they have created. So maybe Thibault will give us more details later on about this successful story. So with no more delays, we have only 50 minutes. So it's a quite short workshop, but we hope they will be fruitful and interesting for all of you. Please use our Slido, the chat that you have in your screen, in the right side of your screens, to post question whenever you have any question. My colleague Karma will take good note, and if we have enough time, we can post the question after each presentation to each of our speakers today. So with no more delay, I will explain you a little bit more about EIT Urban Mobility, who we are, what we do, because probably most of you don't know about us. So this is one of the aims to be here with us today, to increase awareness about our initiative. You don't know probably about EIT Urban Mobility, but I'm sure you know about the challenges faced by our cities nowadays. The model of urban mobility that we have in our cities in Europe, but also worldwide, is not sustainable. You can see here some striking figures. So almost a quarter of all the gas emissions of Europe are produced by transport. 50% of the space, the public space in our cities, is taken by roads or streets. Almost 70% of the road accidents happen in cities. So that's something very sad, problem. And then we spend almost 1 year of our lives commuting and inside cars. So that has a very bad impact in economic terms. So 130 billion euros are spent every year due to, or are wasted every year due to congestion. So these are challenges that we need to face, and we need to change our model of urban mobility. That's why EIT Urban Mobility has been created. We would like to be the largest European initiative for transforming urban mobility, to create a sustainable model of urban mobility, facing, as I said, the challenges that have our cities, providing solutions for the mobility, not only mobility of people, but also waste and goods. And we try to do that, engaging people, connecting communities, and bringing together key players on EIT Urban Mobility, in urban mobility in Europe. And as an ultimate goal, we need to improve the quality of life of European citizens. To put you into a perspective, EIT Urban Mobility belongs to the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, EIT. EIT is a body of the European Union, created in 2008, and the funds provided by EIT comes from the Horizon Europe program. You probably heard about this program. It's the framework program for research and innovation. And EIT in general would like to face the global challenges that we have nowadays, empowering innovators, empowering entrepreneurs to put their innovative ideas into products, services, jobs, and growth. That's the big aim that we all aim at EIT. So students will become entrepreneurs, ideas will become products, innovative research will arrive to the customers. Basically, in different types of topics, we put together the key players in what we call the knowledge triangle. So industry, research, education, and in our case, in EIT Urban Mobility, cities, of course, come together to face these challenges. So 8 communities are part from EIT. You can see there climate, digital, food, raw materials, energy, health, manufacturing, and we are the latest and newest one, EIT Urban Mobility, created 2 years ago. In fact, now in this moment, in other virtual rooms in this event, there are 2 other workshops organized by our colleagues on raw materials and manufacturing. So some of the participants are also knowing more about EIT. But coming back to EIT Urban Mobility, as I said before, we need to solve together the mobility challenges that are facing our cities. And we do that, apart from bringing together all the key stakeholders, as I mentioned before, we ensure the fast deployment and the scale to the cities of Europe and beyond of the innovative solutions provided by our partners and our startups. So we really put in practice these solutions provided by our projects. And in the ultimate goal is to stimulate a behavioral change. We want people and cities to change the way we transport, the way we use our cities for mobility purposes. So how we do that in practice? We have 5 programs. You can see the Business Creation, City Club, Academy, Innovation, and Factory. All of them have different types of activities, but all of them have one mission, is to accelerate this change to sustainable urban mobility and livable urban spaces. I will give you a bit more detail on this program in exactly which type of activities we support or we fund. For instance, in innovation, we propose projects. Our partners, of course, come together and they propose projects with innovative solutions on urban mobility and with different stakeholders from different countries and cities together. So they come with a challenge on urban mobility, a shared challenge, and they submit a proposal. And if the proposal is funded, they implement their activities together to put in practice these solutions to their shared challenges, always in urban mobility, of course. In business creation, on the other hand, we support the startups, like is the case of Vianova, that will be one of the speakers today with us. And we provide also financial resources to early business creation. Then we have also a City Club, that is a platform of local governments, and they come together to collaborate, to share best practices, and to define the challenges every year. And based on the challenges that they define, we organize the rest of activities in EIT Urban Mobility. Then we have one program that is Academy, and is basically focused on closing the urban mobility knowledge gap. So our colleagues in Academy are creating master and doctoral programs with this educational purpose. Then we have some projects on citizen engagement, where the citizens have a really strong role in the activities, in the ideation process, but also they can test the solution in the cities and they can provide their feedback, because we think that it's really important to have citizens on board to have effective solutions in our cities. Then we have a program called Regional Innovation Scheme, and it's basically projects focused on countries which are ranked as moderate or modest innovators according to the European standards. So there are projects to focus on them to foster innovative solutions in those countries. And then we have a factory that basically they are providing unique tools to scale up these mobility solutions, to put them in practice really in our cities. It's a bit complex. I know that we have a lot of activities, but I invite you to go to our website to check really more in detail our activities. And if you are interested in any of them, please come back to us. One thing very important, we have yearly call for proposals. And exactly now, we have a bunch of several call for proposals open. The deadline is 18th of May, so there is no much time to submit a proposal. But if you still have time, you can go to our website and find more information how you can submit a proposal and receive funding if the proposal is successful. I would like also to give you some examples of projects funded by EIT Urban Mobility, which are providing digital solutions to urban mobility challenges. We are here in a digital business event. So we would like to tell you that some of our projects don't provide digital solutions because they provide some other types of solutions. But many of the projects and startups that we funded really provide digital solutions. So here you have just 3 examples. You can also go to our website to find more information like this taxi sharing service implemented in Milano, where they have a taxi sharing platform, and they would like to increase taxi efficiency, for instance, mitigating the single occupancy. So 1 person per taxi, trying to have more people in the taxis for economic and environmental benefits. Then inclusive e-bike is a very interesting and very nice project. They created these rickshaw e-bikes that you can see in the image, and they are promoting safety transport for vulnerable people. You know, some of these were vulnerable people that have seen mobility reduced due to COVID. So thanks to this proposal, they can benefit on a better mobility service in their cities. And basically the digital solution provided is an advanced driver assistant. Other project is Ultra Well, for instance, and it's a travel assistant to self-monitors users' experiences, and they have a decision support tool. So these are only 3 examples. We have many more projects with digital solutions, some of them. So please go to our website for more information. Regarding startups, this is just a brief list of some of the startups that we have supported in one way. We coach them, we give financial resources for them to implement their solutions into the market and to be successful. Here you have a map of some of the startups funded by us, and in different topics, but many of them have digital solutions, because as you mentioned in the poll, many times they are providing apps, applications, or softwares for improving mobility in our cities. And just for you to conclude my intervention here, I would like to give you a bit overview. I'm coming from EIT Urban Mobility Innovation Hub Central. We are based in Munich, but we have other offices in different parts of Europe. The headquarters are in Barcelona. And here we have divided, let's say, the countries into different innovation hubs to support more closely our partners and applicant organizations in their implementation of the projects, and if they are interested to be part of our community. So if you belong to any country coming from the orange area, you can just write to me, and we can give you all the information and tell you how exactly you can participate in our community and be partner of our community. Here you have some examples of partners. They are core partners, so they have a decision-making role in our program. You can see that we have very innovative cities. We have high potential industry partners. We have one of the most prestigious universities in Europe. So you can see there some of the logos. And of course, we have many more partners in our community, but these are some of our core partners. Here, just not to give you much detail, just for you to know that we have different types of partners in our community: core, project, and network partners. In case you want to have a role in the strategy of EIT Urban Mobility, you can be, as an organization, co-partner, or you can simply be project partner in a proposal. Or if you don't want to participate in a proposal, but you want to be in touch with our community, you can be network partner. For instance, Wiener Linien, one of our speakers now, is network partner. So if you're interested, again, come to contact us. And of course, students and startups are also welcome for the other programs that I explained to you. So that's the conclusion of my presentation, with the ultimate goal always of improving the mobility for the cities of tomorrow. Here you have my email address, and please contact me if you would like to be part of our community, or if you would like to clarify something. And of course, you can post your question in our chat. So after my maybe a bit too long presentation, sorry for that, for the other speakers, I would like to give the floor to our next speakers. And I would like to firstly give the floor to Melanie Grosch. She's the transport planner in the city of Munich, one of our core partners, as I explained you before. And they have a very, very interesting mobility strategy, including innovation and digitalization. So she will explain us more about all these activities in the city of Munich. So thank you, Melanie, for being with us. The floor is yours.
So I just start to share my screen. Hopefully.
Yes, so we can see that.
can see it. I just wanted to go in the presentation mode. Yes, now it works. So thank you, Eloy, for this introduction, and thank you for participating and listen to the new Munich's mobility strategy. It's new. It's still kind of a draft, but an already communicated draft. We want to present this to the City Council this summer. So maybe it's very new because we are new. As you can see, we are the new mobility department at the City of Munich. We bring together or join forces from different departments. We started just in January, so we are, some say, still say a department under construction. So we just are building up and thinking many things new in a new way, but from the innovation and research side, as my job is, that is a great thing, and it's a great opportunity to jump in and really go for something new. So I just want to present the new strategy and its ideas, especially on innovation and digitization and other kind of ideas and strategies the City of Munich is building up on the topic of digitization. So why are we doing this? We are facing an enormous dynamic growth in population and economy in Munich. So we have an increasing need for mobility in an already congested and overcrowded system. And we have a lack of and a competition for space. So Munich is a quite dense city, and there is no more space, and especially no more space for traffic. So you can see we are not just overcrowded streets, but I had to say we had overcrowded public transport, because as Dominic Carrel maybe can confirm for the city of Vienna, since the pandemic situation, the situation changed totally. So we have a really game change in the pandemic situation. We are not sure how this will go in the long run, but at the moment we have still congested streets. Everybody wants to go on its own, and the public transport is not empty, but it provides a really good quality at the moment because it isn't that crowded. Our goals are this carbon dioxide neutrality by 2035. So that's earlier as the European Union provides us to do so. So that's a goal, a decision by the City of Munich, by the City Council. They took the decision, and the politics is going for this goal. So at the moment, we do have a coalition of the Green Party and the Social Democrats, and especially the Green Party is really forcing this goal to reach the carbon dioxide neutrality by 2035. We want to have a modal share of 80% carbon dioxide neutral traffic and transport by 2025. That's a really tough goal, but we are working on that. So we need a really kind of radical change in mobility behavior to reach those goals. So we need solutions, we need a transformation, and we need acceptance. And this is why we built up the new mobility strategy 2035. The mobility strategy consists of various part strategies, and they are clustered in 5 clustered, and those are the 5 strategic clusters. And I'm really interested on the discussion maybe afterwards if this is a right clustering or not. So it's a cluster for traffic, the classical traffic, private vehicle traffic, traffic control, and all the commercial transport and logistics in the city. Then it's a cluster for sustainable transport with public transport, shared mobility, mobility as a service, and cycling. We put together cycling and public transport because nowadays, due to this limited space, it's often the decision, is there more space for cycling or for public transport? It's not a decision for the private vehicle traffic, but very often we have a conflict now between space for public transport and cycling. So we put this together in one cluster to have an open discussion and find out the best solutions. We need sustainability, so it's on the climate and environment. We want safety. We have the vision 0 for the city of Munich. We want an inclusive system, and regarding social aspect, and it should provide a resilience, especially if you think about the pandemic situation we are facing now. We need, and then it comes together, a spatial integration. So it's the management of public space. It's the walking is inside there. It's urban development. So it's not just the public space for traffic and transport, but
Maybe there was some internet connection. Melanie, are you there? Can you hear Melanie? Yeah, I think she was frozen for some internet connection, maybe. Let's see if she's recovering the connection quickly. If not, yeah. Melanie, are you there? You are mute now.
I'm sorry.
There was some internet problem. Now we can hear you. No problem. You can go ahead.
Okay, when did I stop?
In the third point of your
In the third point, okay.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm very sorry for this. I was on the third point, sustainability.
Yes. That's it.
So I can go on and I go a bit faster. Hopefully my network is not breaking down again. So sorry. So digitization is really important for a city and at home. So spatial integration is the key. We need the management of the public space. So we do not have enough space, but we need to provide enough space for the right transport modes. It's about walking and urban development and the regional integration. So it's not just about traffic and transport, but we have to integrate a planning between the transport planning and the urban development. And Munich, as many cities, is no island, so we need a regional integration. And what is new on our strategy, it is not just the focus on those 4 topics of classical sustainable urban mobility plans, is that we have a dedicated cluster on innovation. So innovation, we really want to put stress on this. We want digitization, we want research and innovation to reach our goals, to really support our goals, to test, to check if a new solution is fitting, if a new solution can help us to reach our goals, and if a new solution is replicable over the city. And innovation is also seen as communication. So at least the solution can be the best solution in the world if nobody wants to use it or accept it. So we have to communicate this way, this transformation towards innovation. And innovation, of course, if it comes to research programs, it's also about funding. So at the moment, due to the pandemic situation, the city of Munich has a total stop in investments. On some fields, we are not allowed to get any money by the city of Munich for any action, except for those already put a decision on. So funding is really crucial for us at the moment. So it's not only about the mobility strategy. The city of Munich, at the same time, puts up a strategy for digital transformation. So it's not only about mobility. The mobility strategy is part of this. So we want really digital services for the public. So for all, accessible for all. We want transparency and data security. The digitization should help for sustainable development. So it's not just to go for something and to lose it after 1 year. We need a digital administration and a real cultural change in this point. We need a digital communication and participation. We were forced to do this during the pandemic situation when no actual meeting, no physical meetings were allowed for participation processes, and everybody could experience it works, and it's a great opportunity to use this digital work. And we need living labs and test beds to really pilot smart city solutions. We set up a program, the so-called ISH program. So it's an integrated smart city program. In German, it's Smart City Handlungsprogramm, so it's called ISH. So it's the strategy and the framework. it integrates the piloting and testing on digital solution, and it's a combination of various projects and applications. So it's the overall strategy that we not just have a pilot here and the pilot there for piloting any solution, but really to have a strategy and a framework and an integrated view on those projects. So why are we running projects? We are running a lot of projects at the moment. We are partners in 21 projects, only the mobility department, the city of Munich, and a lot more. So we are facing various solutions, but also in dynamic development. So projects running for 4 years, we start with an idea, we start with solutions. After 4 years, it was more likely that some of those ideas or solutions aren't on the market any longer. So we have a totally change in these ideas. So for a city, that's really crucial. If you start, you have decision of the city council to implement something, and then 6 months after implementation, the supplier says, okay, the service does not work. We have to change our services and we have to change the system. So we close it down. So that's really a harsh part for the city, but we're working on this to have test beds for quick testing and really have a view over it. So our questions are, and those are really questions, what are sustainable solutions? Not just for 1 year, not just for the moment, but really on the long run. How does they affect the mobility system? What is the acceptance of those? Is it mobility for all? For a city, we have to cover every citizen. Is it accessible and affordable for all? And in the end, for digitization, what is the real city's responsibility in doing so? So some of the actions, Eloy already presented you the Munich Urban Co-Lab, where the Innovation Hub Central of the EIT Urban Mobility and actual Eloy is located in Munich. It's a cooperation between the city of Munich and the Unternehmertum for fostering solutions for the city of tomorrow. So it should provide one space for connection, networking, cooperation, co-working, and dialogue. It should bring together many minds from industry, research, society, and administration. So the administration, industry, and the research can book rooms or have dedicated rooms where the staff can work for a special time. There are meeting rooms, and so we can work together just for a project for a certain time, but just bring it together in one space. And we want infinite ideas. So it's an enormous potential for innovation and smart city solutions from our point of view. Another idea we are running at the moment, the deadline is even closer than the deadline of the call of the EIT Urban Mobility, is that we have the so-called Munich Innovation Challenge. So it's focused on the topics of the field of smart cities. It's not just for urban mobility, but as you can see, it's for visiting Munich, simple and sustainable for tourism. It's on emission-free mobility in Munich, so mobility topic. It's on improved data on traffic and parking for all modes possible, not just for vehicle traffic and parking, but also for bicycle. It's the so-called flexibles Arbeiten, so flexible work at the city of Munich, and a pilot project for digital NO2 measurements. So it's just open. We had to pitch ourselves. So there were over 20 pitches from the administration at the city of Munich. So we had to pitch that we can bring through our challenges. And but urban mobility is quite an interesting topic for everybody. So out of those 20, 5 were taken. Our 2 on urban mobility were taken. So urban mobility is really a focus topic. So students and entrepreneurs and startups are called on to submit sustainable, innovative proposals. And we have cooperation partners that will support and coach the prize winners from the Unternehmertum, the Straschek Center for Entrepreneurship, the LMU, the Munich University Entrepreneurship Center, and the Entrepreneurship Center of the University of the Armed Forces in Munich. So that is really an interesting If you have a quick idea to submit, just go to the City of Munich site, münchen.de, then go for Munich Innovation Challenge. Or maybe that's a yearly. Next year, there will be an open challenge as well. So with this, maybe opportunity for you to look after our ideas on our homepage. I will finish my presentation and thank you very much. And hopefully I get some answers to my questions.
Thank you very much, Melanie, for your detailed presentation. I'm afraid we are a bit delayed now, and we should really be a bit quicker. I'm not sure if we will have time for questions, but otherwise you can always contact the speakers later on through the B2B software platform, Software Days platform. So with no more delays, I would like to give the floor to Dominique Carral, the Head of IT Management and Services in Wiener Linien. Please, Dominique.
Thank you, Eloy. So, 1 second, I will share my presentation. Okay, thank you very much for being here. I hope that I can be on time, as Wiener Linien always tries to be. Yeah. What I want to talk about today is about the digital future of Wiener Linien. My name is Dominic, and I'm responsible at Wiener Linien for the customer IT products. So as Eloy said already, we are also a network partner of EIT Urban Mobility, and we are very happy about it to exchange on ideas and also search for new projects together with the EIT network. So thank you, Eloy, for being part of this network as well. Who are Wiener Linien? For those of you who don't know us, we are Austria's largest local public transport provider. We circle the globe around 5 times a day. So you see our network is really huge, and we serve our network for 965 million passengers a year. So around 2.5 million passengers per day are within our network. We have around, or let's say we have exactly 5 underground lines. One is just being built. Therefore, I wanted to say about. So there is going to be a 6th one. We have 131 bus lines and 28 tram lines, and the whole network is 1,200, around about 1,200 kilometers long. And within Wiener Linien, we are 8,500 people working on the network all day long. So if we look at our passengers, we have a special category, our annual pass holders, so the Jahreskarte-Inhaber. And if we look at this graphic, you can see here a statistic which shows us the number of registered cars in Vienna and the annual pass holders in Vienna. And you can see a big rise here at the beginning of 2012, where we started a ticket or a Jahreskarte ticket with 365 euros. And it rose and exceeded even the number of registered cars in Vienna in 2015. And therefore, we saw, okay, we are on the right way, and we are getting more and more customers into the public transport sector. And that's also very important for the whole climate within Vienna. Of course, the pandemic last year also in our case reduced the number a little bit. Nevertheless, we have still more than 800,000 annual pass holders. So even though the pandemic, of course, also reduced the number of passengers in our network, we still have a high number of annual pass holders. Looking at the satisfaction rate with our services, you can see here a lot of green lines. That's good for us. Starting with our surveys in 2010, we are now, the last survey was 2019, where we have the numbers from, and we have a satisfaction rate of 99% of customers who say that they are satisfied with our service, and just a few ones who say that our services are not good enough. So from that perspective, and the numbers I showed you previously, we could say, okay, everything fine, we are on the right direction, just move on and continue as we did it the last year. But there are also a lot of other players entering the market. Here you can see from IDC, a research company, Market Glance, it's called this picture of digital disruptors. What are digital disruptors? Those are companies which are going into the market and are really disrupting the market. So they changed that branch completely. And from that perspective, it could be that some of other companies might not be anymore on the market. Like a good example is also Nokia, who was a very famous company, and it's not famous that much nowadays. And if you look at the digital disruptors, also the local passenger transportation is a separate branch here. Within the digital disruptors, I added some more logos here on that page so that you can see there are many other players on the market. And some of those players are not on the market anymore because they couldn't get the revenues. Others are still there and have big players in the back. Yeah, so they have very good financial situations. And so a lot of other companies are going into the local passenger transportation market. And for us and also for the city of Vienna, it's important to still control the local passenger transportation to also support the climate aims we have as a city. And therefore, a few years ago, we invented WinMobil. What is WinMobil? WinMobil, you know it. I was happy to see that the polls, that WinMobil was also mentioned there. So some of you know it, but you might know just the app, yeah? And you see just the app and mean, okay, that's all. What WinMobil is in the backend as a platform is a whole ecosystem. What we want to do with WinMobil is to build a platform, and we are still working on it, which allows us to combine the providers with the customers, so that you don't need to think about it, how or which provider you want to use. If you go by the scooter or by the bike or with the Wiener Linien vehicles, that doesn't matter. You want from A to B within Vienna. And therefore we built this platform which allows us to do the management of providers, to do also billing, booking, routing, and also provide location services to our customers. And one of those apps which accesses this platform is WinMobil. For those of you who don't know it yet, I added some pictures to my presentation as well, some screenshots, so that you get familiar with it. Here you can see the monitor screens, which provides the information of our public transport departure times in real time. Furthermore, as I mentioned before, we added some providers which are also included in our platform and therefore also in the app. For example, ShareNow is a provider which is integrated, or other taxi providers which are also integrated. Of course, also scooter providers we integrated already in our app, and therefore you can also plan your way from A to B with scooters or the city bike, for example. So some of you might know that they can do in WinMobil search a route from A to B and get information about the public transport. We want to extend that with other modalities as well, so that you can also plan your trip with other modalities. And last but not least, of course, you can buy a ticket for the public transport as well within this app. What we also do is we are not focusing just on the virtual room. We are focusing also on the real life. Yeah, we want to also bring WinMobil into the real life and not just at an app, and that's all. Therefore, we invented the WinMobil station, where we are providing different modalities and allow the people to exchange from one modality to the other. So for example, if you're a passenger on the tram and then want to go into in a direction where no public transport is available, you can use an e-bike from our WinMobil station. Just grab it, book that service, and then you can go on and drive along with the e-bike. Of course, there is also a car sharing station for e-cars, And we also provide bike storage within those Winmobil stations. So when you have your own bike, you can put it in the bike storage and then go to work and afterwards grab your bike again. What we also provide as a new product is the Winmobil monitor. So for example, if you have a business within Vienna and you want to inform your customers who are going into the building and out of the building about the possibilities of public transport, you can use Winmobil monitor. It's a screen, a website actually, which you can integrate into your monitors you have normally at the exits of the business, and display there the information about public transport station nearby and also about the departure times. And even if there is some disruption on that lines, you also get the information about the disruptions on the screen. And you see, this is again a product where we want to combine Winmobil as an app together with the real life, because a monitor is not something you open on your smartphone, but you just look at it and use the information from it. Furthermore, we integrated Winmobil in Alexa as well. So you can also ask Alexa already about ways about the departure times. For example, what's the departure time at Stephansplatz or any other stations? You get also notified about disruptions. You can save your favorite stations so that you don't need to always ask for a specific station, but save it as a favorite. And you can ask for the departure times within the next minutes. So it allows you to already plan your route at home. If you have Alexa at home, of course, we also plan to do the same for Google products as well, as Google Assistant is also a famous product. But it should allow us to also get information from home and don't need to open an app to get information about departure times. What we are also focusing on is hackathons. It was this year the first time we did a hackathon. So we asked for a lot of participants to really code a prototype. We did this hackathon together with Google, Cloud Pilots, and Zürcher. And what we did in this hackathon is we asked for a solution how to do the digital ticket inspection. The issue we currently face is if you have an annual pass, you just show it to the inspector and the inspector checks the signs on the annual pass and they can easily identify, yes, it's a correct one. You can go by and enter the tram or any other vehicles. But with the digital inspection, you need the customer to ask, please, give me your smartphone, open it, unlock
Dominic,
it, open it.
Sorry,
yeah, sorry.
interrupt you, because we need to give some time for the last speaker. Sivol is like probably thinking that, oh my God, I don't have time. So
just one last slide, then I'm finished. Thank you, Eloy, for the information. So what we're searching for were for products, how we can improve the digital inspection. And what we found, we had a winner, a team called Quicker with a Sticker, which provided us a product or a prototype how to do the digital ticket inspection even with visual inspection. That's based on Bluetooth Low Energy. You are connecting the phone from the inspector with the phone from the customer with the passenger's phone, and you show the same sticker you have on the inspector's phone on the customer's phone. And based on that, the inspectors can also do visual inspection, and it's much more faster than scanning QR codes or anything else. So we were really happy to get so much information and also so much prototypes with this hackathon, and therefore in future, I think we will do further hackathons as well. So that's it. Thank you very much for the attention. And if you have further questions, please don't hesitate to contact me.
Thank you very much, Dominique. If I would like to, I would like to kindly ask our participants if there can be some more minutes. The organizers told me that it's still possible. So to give some time for Thibault Castagne to explain the activities implemented by Vianova. Thibault Castagne is the CEO of Vianova, so still I ask you to be short, but we can go 5 more minutes after the 12:20 time that was foreseen to conclude. So we can go to 12:25 if it's possible for you and for all the participants here with us today. Thank you, Thibault.
Thank you, Eloy. Thank you, EIT, for inviting Vianova and myself. I'm actually going to have a cut at 12:30 on my side because I have another call planned. So I'm going to be very brief, or trying to be very brief, and I'm sure I will manage. 12:19, so I guess in 8 minutes presentation should be done. So again, hi everyone, my name is Thibault Castan. I'm the founder of Vianova. Vianova is a 2-year-old startup, actually based in Paris, London, Berlin, and Barcelona now. And we basically building the data platform for cities and operators to build the future of transportation. We're actually a member of EIT Urban Mobility as our accelerator program. So they're actually helping us basically on business development, with cities generally, and also with other third parties. So we are leading mobility data aggregator today in Europe, and the leading city mobility management solution as well. 16 cities in Europe are today actually using the Vianova platform, which we're very, very happy about. We partner up with cities, making sure that basically they have the right tools while basically still owning the data pipeline, and being as transparent as possible on what's happening on the platform. So as mentioned earlier, there is, I think Dominique mentioned that, and Melanie as well, has been basically a high growth of mobility innovations. And this has obviously a lot of impact on traffic management, but also on the way public space is being shared. So in terms of free floating and on-demand mobility devices, we see a growth of 5-fold by 2025. Last mile deliveries will basically be almost multiplied by 2 in the next 9 years. So this has basically a lot of impact on how we manage public space and generally traffic in cities. The great thing now for cities is that all these vehicles are connected, which basically means that from a city perspective, you can actually utilize and harness this data, both actually for traffic planning, but also for real-time orchestration of mobility services and real-time traffic enforcement. Cities have started basically recognizing that data is key, as we saw it in LA, but also now working with many European cities. They are also setting up data sharing as mandatory for mobility operators, and we think it's a great thing. But today the mobility ecosystem is getting wider and wider. And there's little trust between all the stakeholders to share the data. So on our side, basically, we work as a trusted third-party platform that facilitates and secure data sharing between connected fleets, mobility fleets, and city transport authorities. So on one side, we actually aggregate mobility data, which are basically what we call telemetry data, GPS trips information, provide that basically for analysis and monitoring to cities. And on the other side, basically, we digitize all traffic regulations, parking regulations, and send that basically via an API to connected fleets. So we are basically using open source technologies as well as standardized formats like the MDS and GBFS format. We also industry leading in terms of GDPR compliance. So we've worked with different data authority actually across the Nordics and France to make sure that our system were GDPR compliant, specifically for GPS tracked assets, vehicles, which is an interesting topic. So in terms of it's a dashboard, so you can have different connectors. Mobility services are connectors to the platform. It's visible on a web dashboard. You also have infrastructure data that can be connected, vehicle counts, charging stations, curbside management, which is a big topic. Melanie mentioned that with public space management. So curbside management is going to be a very big topic for cities in the next 10 years. And how do you actually allocate dynamically curb in your city? So there's different use cases, how you can actually use data, and actually you can use it as a city government, but also as an operator to make sure that you improve your fleet utilization, but to make sure that you are compliant to city regulations, receiving compliance data and compliance score. Mobility as a service integration, Dominic mentioned that. So how do you actually provide physical and digital integration of new mobility to public transport through mobility as a service? So this would be real-time data, but also infrastructure management. How do you actually better plan charging infrastructure in cities? Where do you want to set up the charging pods? How do you communicate the availability of these charging pods to taxi or car sharing fleets and so on? So the use cases are actually quite broad. We have actually worked on these use cases with many of the city partner cities, which basically are today like in the Nordics, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, France, the UK, and Portugal. And we now have a list of 50 use cases that we've implemented in cities. That has been very interesting to work on that together. So we have strong partnership with mobility operators that help us basically provision the data. And when I say mobility operators, I mean shared mobility, as well as now also extending to mobility on demand, microtransit and delivery services. So we have an operator partnership program that basically help us to provision the data as well as auditing their data, which is very important in the industry, because what we say is that garbage in, garbage out. So you want to make sure that basically the data is of very high quality, and there's a lot of hidden work in that, in making sure that this data is high quality and normalizing it. So no interesting data insights if you don't have like high quality data or high auditing. Examples of use cases. So, it could be planning, for instance. This is an example of Brussels, or how do you actually aggregate micromobility telemetries to basically plan new corona lanes in the city. Another example could be Milan, that was mentioned earlier. So for instance, you can do vehicle registration. So in Milan, like all operators basically have to provide ID of the vehicles. You basically register the vehicles, and then you verify basically that these vehicles certified are yes or no, basically deployed in the city. And the ones basically not certified, then there is an alert coming out. This also comes as like verifying the fleet availability of the vehicles, making sure that they have good quality of service from operators, as well as complying with the vehicle caps for shared mobility operators, 750, and so on. So each operator then would have a compliance score, which basically tell them, like how compliant they were to the city regulations. Another example is Zurich. So again, like all geofence regulations that are being created are translated through an API that you see on the right. This is called a policy API. So that's how you basically digitize traffic orders, parking regulations to mobility operators in the city. So creating mobility hubs. So there's creation of mobility hubs in Zurich with the city of Zurich, as well as with VBZ and SBB, similarly to actually what you showed earlier, Dominic, in Vienna, creating mobility hubs on tram stations and train stations, which also has been really interesting project. And it's been obviously like work to do on making sure that we actually assess multimodality between public transport and micromobility. So there's been some work done with Helsinki, the city of Helsinki, and the local public transporter about basically looking at the number of trips starting and ending from public transport stations to assess that multimodality. Other example of how you actually use mobility data is again a project that we're doing in Paris now, is collecting data from delivery vehicles. So delivery vehicles, and especially with COVID, there's a lot of impact in cities on double parking mainly. And there's very, very few data points today on what's the impact of that delivery of those deliveries, last mile delivery services in cities. So today, basically, we partner up with logistic operators to actually aggregate their data and show to the city of Paris the impact on street usage of last mile deliveries. This is another example, basically, of how data could be used. This is a transmission of data between mobility operators and charging operators in the city of Paris. So basically, first by looking at where the vehicles are and what are the best positioning for the charging stations, but also providing availability of these stations in real time. And again, other use cases that could be very interesting for cities that we actually haven't worked on ourselves, but that we think are also very interesting. So geofencing speed limit zones in Stockholm for trucks, Scania and Volvo. So today, basically, the city of Stockholm is providing geofencing to Scania and Volvo to limit the speed in the city, as well as to move the engine from combustion to electric using geofencing and GPS data from connected vehicle. You have a similar thing going on in Turin with Fiat vehicles on how when they actually come in the city center, they switch automatically to electric engines. There's also work that cities can do on regulation of vehicles routing from Waze, about basically providing a maximum number of vehicles routed per street section, communicating to navigation systems so that you don't have a school with 1,000 vehicles coming like every 10 minutes because there's a rerouting. So this is like the kind of like things that mobility data can do. And what actually does it take to build such good data project or such data project in general? You need basically to have a committed team with mixed expertise, policy, data, mobility. You need to define the mobility strategy vision, which I heard already before. Development of adequate policies, what is your target in terms of sustainability, share of public space, and so on, and then create the policies accordingly. Define the use cases of why do you actually need to collect and process that data and prioritize these use cases, basically, for instance, on a 5 to 10 years plan. Development of GDPR compliance. So you got to, write to DPIA, so data processing impact assessment. Privacy impact assessments, setup of data agreement with operators, so making sure that you can actually aggregate this data from mobility operators. Then development of the data pipelines, so intelligence and API layers. So this is something that you can do with a third party or alone as a city. Doing it with a third party it doesn't mean that you're giving away basically the knowledge, or you're giving away basically the whole infrastructure, the keys to the city. I think it just depends on basically the access to data. So as an example with Vianova, in Milan and other cities, basically we interact directly with the data hub of the city. So this is done in full transparency, and from a city perspective, they're not missing anything. Fulfillment of the use cases in partnership with operators. So this is very important as well, to make sure that along the line of the project, there is still partnership with operators to make sure that these use cases are filled. And I think that's pretty much on my side, a bit above 10 minutes. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thibault, and sorry all our participants and speakers for this slight delay, but I think we have very interesting presentations, and our main goal of providing some information to our audience on what is EIT Urban Mobility, and some digital solutions provided by the city representative, a transport company, startup, early business. So I think it was a very nice discussion and presentation from all of you to have an overview on how we can provide digital solutions to have more livable urban spaces in our cities. So thank you very much, all the speakers, to be here with us. Thank you, all the participants. And please come back to us with questions. We didn't have time for posing questions. If you have any question to any of our speakers, please use the platform that we have been using in this event. Otherwise, you can always write us an email. So thank you again, and see you next time. Thank you.